People of the world, marketing as a foreign language, episode 230. Three. Wayne Mullins on the show today. Do you ever get a feeling about somebody? Do you ever get a feeling? I got a feeling about Wayne Mullins. It isn't just his lovely locks that I am jealous of. I want Wayne's hair. Do you understand? I'm shooting for it. There's a few things I love about Wayne. Number one, I don't believe in coincidences, so I don't think it's a coincidence that Wayne is on the show today. Number two, he's got incredible hair. Number three, he's a family man. And I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm going through a separation. But guess what? I'm still a family man, if that makes any sense. Me and my ex are great friends. And when the kids are with me, it is like I cannot describe to you how much I love my kids. There are no words for it. And backstage, we were just talking about really soaking up that quality time. And it made me think about company culture, which is another thing Wayne and I were talking about backstage. And he taught me something. I always say that the Latin root of the word advertise is advertere, which means to turn towards. And here Wayne comes in with the Latin root of culture, which is cultivate, or some Latin word, which he'll describe in a second. But it is really about that. I might use the word spiritual. He might use the word natural. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is love, right? If you are filling your heart with love, you're going to cultivate a field where you can plant seeds. You can't throw seeds in the middle of the Mojave Desert, expect them to grow. You know that. So today's show is going to be a great one. I absolutely guarantee it. You have my word, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to it. The one, the only Wayne Mullins.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here today.
Hey, man. So I don't know. You're an impressive dude. Can you just?
Is it the hair?
It's part of the hair. It's also the vibe in general. 4 kids, that's no joke. I checked out your website. I've looked at your stuff. Just pat yourself on the back for a minute. Tell folks why you're amazing. Like, what have you accomplished?
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I take a lot of pride in my family. We are very intentional in our family about time together. We, believe it or not, love being together as a family. That includes my in-law side of the family. That includes my extended side of the family as well. We're just intentional around that. And we've been very intentional about staying in this small little town because that is where our family's at. And we wanted our kids to grow up in a place where they could have a sense of belonging, a sense of family togetherness. So, when you said pat myself on the back, describe what I'm most proud of, that would be number one. It's the commitment to family, like you were just saying, the time, investing the intention in the family. And then everything else, I believe, really flows from that. So all the quote unquote good things that have happened in the business, in my personal life, have all come as a result of putting family first.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, as someone who is going through a separation, I will speak to the other people. Shout out to Brad Hess as well. That the time invested in family becomes even more salient. It becomes even more. It's like there was a moment the other day where I was longboarding. I was just missing my daughter so much. It's crazy the feeling when you're like, oh man, like I can Skype her, I can call her, that's cool. I could even swing by, but that vibe of just not having her with me and that feeling, what it did is it triggered in my head the need to, when the kids are with me, just really soak it up. And Wayne and I were chatting about this yesterday. And so yesterday, my daughter made $3.40 at an art sale that she came up with herself at the park. And I spent 8 solid hours with the kids yesterday, and I'm good. You know what I mean? Like today, I feel so much better. I feel, and now I'm looking forward to tomorrow because we're going to hang out and I can recharge my batteries and all that sort of thing. So the point that I'm making is I agree with Wayne. I agree that family first, in however modern family style you put it together, right? And whatever it takes. Because I take an incredible amount of strength from my family. And this is another thing too about culture and company culture in general, which is everyone thinks that it's all job related, but oh my, where you find strength in your life, your exercise, your sleep routine, what you're putting in your body, all of that plays into whether or not the company itself is gonna thrive. So let's talk a little bit about culture, Wayne. What are some of the lessons you've taken from your family and incorporated into company culture?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I would say is that, oftentimes we segment or we attempt to segment our lives. So we think we've got family, we've got personal, we've got work, we've got, hobbies, we've got all these different quote unquote segments of our life. And the reality is it's all one life. That's why I actually hate the term work-life balance, because it's all one life. And, at various seasons, and we kind of talked about this before we were on the show here, we go through seasons in life. And so there are certain seasons where one area of our lives may pull or may demand more of us. There are other seasons when another area may demand more. And so our lives, at least in my opinion, our lives are never in quote unquote perfect balance. There's always going to be something that's a little bit out of balance. And I think we often, we get ourselves all worked up over this idea of everything's got to be perfectly balanced. And instead, I think it's beneficial if we can embrace this idea or embrace this mentality that it's about a season and that it's okay if things aren't in balance today, leaning forward. So to answer your question, the same thing with family. There are busy seasons in a family, right? There are busy seasons when the kids all have different lessons and they're going different places and school's going on. And then there's the summer season, which is a completely different vibe. It's a different feel. And so I believe taking that whole idea and bringing it into every aspect of our life, particularly work, and understanding that it's okay if sometimes work demands more, but it's also okay if work doesn't demand as much, and giving that time and that focus to other areas of our lives as well.
Yeah, I love it. I founded a martial art called Yin Yang Way. I am like, you can just call me Mr. Balance, dude. I am El Señor Balance. This right here is a mouse, and we've talked about this on the show before, but there's a reason it's symmetrical, which is because I'll switch it from my left and right hand whenever the one hand hurts. Okay. Because to me, that makes a lot of sense. Why would you be clicking on a mouse when it hurts when you have two arms, right? Two hands. And when it comes to politics, which I'm not afraid to talk about, I feel like people get so tripped up going, no, it's the left. The left is always the way. No, it's left, then right, then left, then right, then left, then right. And you can make the argument that, oh, it's been two lefts for too long. That's fine. I get that. Don't hop around on one leg when you've got two legs. Like, it is not a coincidence that globally human culture just tips left and right. That's how we move. It's how we walk forward. We make progress by left and right. And so when it comes to balance, even if you are perfectly balanced, and this is a Tai Chi reference, and you're 50-50 on both legs, that's not balance, because your legs are going to start hurting. And you're going to want to shift all of your weight onto the left and to give your right a break. And then you shift to the right and you give your left a break. This is how we move forward. And so the same is true, exactly what you just said, which is work, life, work. You have to feel, you have to understand where you are and what season you're in, and appropriately move forward. So yeah, we're on the same page there. Let's talk a little bit about marketing. So you own an agency. How big is it? Tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 10 of us here full-time. We've got a few part-time, and then we have, it depends on the season that we're in, but we have anywhere from, 5 to 10 or so subcontractors, freelancers doing various projects for us at any point in time. We've been fortunate to work with clients all over the world. Right now, the bulk of our clients are in Louisiana, with about probably 60% of our clients in the state. The other 40% would be scattered. I don't think we're doing anything international right now. I think the other 40% is going to be everywhere from California to New York and in between. So yeah, that's the agency in a nutshell. Overview of who we are, I guess, as an agency.
Yeah. Are you in Louisiana yourself?
Correct. Yep. Right in downtown Alexandria. So for most people listening, they probably, when they think Louisiana, they think New Orleans, right? They think of Mardi Gras. They think of all these things, New Orleans. So if you picture New Orleans in your head, and then you picture the polar opposite of that, that is Alexandria, Louisiana, and that's where I'm at.
All right, nice. I mean, the weather, you're down south, so it's not too crazy. Probably doesn't snow too often, if ever. So nice. 10 employees. So what kind of stress do you feel having to provide their livelihood? Or do you just see it as like a pleasure? I mean, how is that because it's, it's kind of a burden some days and it's a joy other days. How do you mentally deal with all that?
Very tough question. The answer is I used to deal with it very terribly, if that's a word.
It is a word.
Because I do take it very, very seriously that
Yeah.
the livelihoods of families is on the line because of decisions that I make. And it wasn't too long ago that I was awake at night very frequently, sweating, worrying, dreading. And still to this day, that happens from time to time. But I've really worked hard the last 4 years at learning to tame the thoughts that run through my head.
Mm.
And I don't mean tame in the sense of necessarily controlling or like altering those thoughts, because I found that battle very difficult to do.
Impossible is the word to describe it.
That is the word. But instead to observe them,
Yeah.
and then make the decision whether I choose to believe that thought or not.
Oh, I
And
love that. See now we're talking about spirituality. You can call it psychology if you like. You can.
No. I'm not afraid of that word. But what I would say is this, that when those thoughts arise, if we're not careful, we will chase those thoughts. We will believe those thoughts, and I believe that what you focus on expands. And so the more I worry about, can we make payroll, or is everything going to fall apart in the next quarter? What that opens me up to, I believe that opens me up to those types of things. So in other words, my focus is on the negative. My focus is on all the things that could go wrong. And so I believe that you attract that into your life. And so over the last 4 years specifically, I've been very intentional, and it's tough. I mean, it's tough working through that and learning to, there's all these different analogies people use, but, watch the thoughts go by like clouds go by, watch the thoughts as a leaf floating down the stream. And it sounds, for somebody listening this from strictly a business perspective, that sounds maybe new agey or spiritual or whatever the term you would choose. But the reality is my life and business have radically changed and shifted for the better since I began this work on myself about 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's again, I don't believe in coincidences, because I have spent an entire month praying and hoping and mentally fighting a battle with a retinal surgeon that I inevitably lost. And here's the thing. I did all the law of attraction stuff. I did the whole song and dance to this end result. And this is where I take what you just said and I just go just a smidge further, which is I can pray and hope and attract garbage, right? Even when it's the right thing in my head, right? So I wanted this retinal surgeon to do this thing. I fought that dude. Like, I can't explain to you, like, because I'm a sales guy, man. I can sell. And I threw every final punch at this dude. There were like 6 people in his little office by the time he finally kicked me out. He's like, I am not doing the surgery. You're going to leave now, He was super cool about it, but that was how I felt. And I walked out totally dejected. And it wasn't until, and that's exactly what needed to happen to me, because I ended up in Texas, not like 2 weeks later, without an invasive surgery, with like ridiculous potential side effects and consequences, with basically a solution. And it's, so whatever it is that I am hoping and praying for, what that taught me is you might be wrong about that, because what you really want is a solution. You just think that thing that you're attracting is the solution, right? And that's just me. I'm not saying that's you. That was just my personal experience with that thing. And I'm inspired by what you said, because I need to write it down. I think that's my next step, is I need to start being really intentional about, okay, Kellen, craft your life a year from now. What does your life look like? And just write down and just live in that world. Call it meditation, call it what you will, but it's time for me to start doing that again. So again, no coincidence that we're talking about it.
No, I love that. One of the things that for me has been a semi-recent revelation, I guess you could call it, is that, I think when we pursue certain things, certain outcomes, we get so hung up on the belief that that is the thing that we're after.
That's
And I don't
right.
know if it's true for you. I mean, this would be a great story, the one you just shared, but like oftentimes when we finally get that thing that we were so adamant about, that we believed was the thing we needed, come to find out it wasn't all that great once we achieved it, right? It's like, that's really not that significant, or that's not that special. So yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think that's where part of it is just the direction in and of itself, right? So when you talk about writing down what you're after, or what you want to become, or who you want to become, I really believe there's immense power in determining who you want to be, and then defining the attributes of that person and start living as that person. So an example of this that I try to walk through on a monthly basis is just simply this. What are the attributes of the father that I want to be to my kids? In other words, if I paint this picture of this perfect father, right, which obviously that's a huge bar to set. But if I were to paint that picture of this perfect father, what are the attributes of that person, right? They're present for their kids. They show up on their kids' level. They're not looking down at the kids. They're empathizing with the kids. You know what I mean? So I go through and I list out these attributes. And then the next step is, what are the specific actions that I could then take? What are the daily things that I could do to live into that person, to live into that ideal, quote unquote, character, if you want to call it a character, that I've created. And for me, that process has completely changed the way I think about goal setting. It's completely changed the way I think about even the things that I desire in my life, right? Because what it does is it shifts our focus from the things to the who. Who are we when we experience those things in our lives, whatever those ideals may be? Who would we be as a person? What are the attributes of that person?
Yeah, if you're listening to this, if these particular vibrations passing through the air via the diaphragm of Wayne that somehow were formed via neurological synapses fired based on the diet of the food he's eating in this particular universe, if those particular wavelengths are reaching your ears, it's part of your narrative. Okay. There's a reason you're hearing it. I have written down, who do you want to be? Patient, energetic, funny, laughing, on the kids level. I'm writing stuff down, because it's, there's a lot of wisdom in what you're saying. And it's so true. And at various points in my life, I am able to take advice like that and internalize it. And other times I just can't. I'm just out of juice. So if you're listening to this right now and you're done, you're just totally zapped and there's nothing left in the tank and you're just completely over it, then just be completely over it. Be zapped, be depressed, be in that space. Because there's a season for that too. You know what I mean? It is so hard to lead effectively for everyone all of the time, especially on a show like this, because everyone's coming at different seasons. And if you're an entrepreneur or you have employees or you're a solopreneur and you're moving through this space, it's one of the things I've learned is the bedrock of all of this is love. That's my take. Okay. And loving yourself. It's such a cliche and it hurts me to even mention it, but man, that can be rough. That can be hard. Forgiving yourself, loving yourself, especially when you are a pile. Have you ever been a pile? Has that ever happened to you where you turn into a pile, Wayne? Or is that just me?
No, absolutely.
I mean, I've done some stuff, and when I'm in dark and low places where you look back and you go, it was just, man, what a tough ride that was, and then somehow you get to the other side of it. So anyway, this world of like Instagram, look how great my life is all the time. I don't know. I struggle, dude, and one of the reasons why I love this show so much and why I really appreciate your energy on the show is, does this not strike you as a more authentic conversation? It's really getting to the heart of the matter.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's so many shows out there today that it's about the 3 points the 3 points and the final plea, I guess, and move on to the next show. And at the end of the day, what you said is absolutely correct. It is about love. I actually posted something on my personal Facebook yesterday, I think, maybe just the day before, but it was just about tough love and how that, we sometimes need tough love on ourselves. We also need tough love, or need to give tough love to other people as well. And what I believe, so let me define that, because I think the world, like you were just talking about Instagram, it's created this bad rap, even for the term tough love. I think sometimes that when we hear the word tough love, it's like showing up, or it's like beating yourself up in love. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm doing this for your own good. I'm gonna tell you something horrible. But what I believe tough love really is, it's that we genuinely care and love about someone so much that we're unwilling to let them be anyone other than who they, not us, but who they have the potential of becoming. So where I think we screw this up so often is we approach it based on who we feel they should become, not who they have the potential of becoming. So the love becomes biased, right? We don't show authentic, genuine love when we're trying to, quote unquote, tough love somebody into who we believe they should be, instead of just accepting who they are and helping them live into who they are. And that's why I think that definition of tough love is so important in family, in personal, in business. It's the agreement. It's this agreement that because I care so much about you, I'm not going to let you be anything less than you are capable of becoming.
Yeah, no, I love that. And the thing is, like, not every business owner is going to be like this, but one of the things that I've learned through being a teacher, and teachers are like this too, anyone that's in a leadership role, there is this deep dive that happens many, many times, not always, but many times, where because you wrestle with hiring and firing, like, you got to hire and fire. Like, you got to be willing to let people go. If you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, I'm reminded of my sister, who started this incredible cosmetics company in California. She's very popular online. She gets thousands and thousands of views. She's always been that popular girl. That's just who she is. And she deserves it too, because she's very charismatic. She's super nice. She's talented. She's all that stuff, right? She's also down to earth, like, we come from Mandan, North Dakota. It's not like we're Hollywood types. You know what I mean? She hired some friends and neighbors, and she's working through what happens when you hire friends and neighbors. And I'm not saying a single bad thing about being an employee. I've only been a business owner for 4 or 5 years. So it's not like, I've been doing this for 20 years. But when you get on the other side of that fence, there's some psychological battles you got to go through. And that can be lonely. It can be stressful. You talked about those sleepless nights and all that sort of stuff. So just, shout out to my entrepreneurs and business owners out there, just for going through it and through learning those lessons. So I guess I'll make it in the form of a question for Wayne here. Let's talk about letting people go. Can you talk to me about letting people go?
Absolutely. Number one is, no one should ever be let go that they're surprised by that decision. So your role, my role as a leader, is to coach people, to love people through the challenges, right? They should never reach the point of being fired without them knowing, like, okay, I'm aware of the performance issue. I'm aware of whatever the issues may be. You have attempted to walk me through these. You've poured yourself into me to avoid the inevitable. So it should never come as a surprise to people. The other is this, that for most people, 99.9% of people, they show up to their job every day wanting to do a good job. And oftentimes when we approach it through the wrong lens, we sometimes position ourselves on the opposite side from them. In other words, we're up here as the leader, as the manager, as the boss, whatever it may be. They're over here as the employee or the team member, whatever term you choose to use. But the reality is we're both human, right? And so where I'm coming to this conversation from is one human to another. I'm coming to this knowing that they, hopefully, if we've hired correctly, they're one of the 99.9% who are showing up wanting to do a good job. So if that is true, then there's only one of two things that will be true of that scenario. One is you, as the person who put them in the position, put someone in the wrong position for their skills, their abilities, their temperament, whatever it may be. So again, that's a reflection back on the leader, the manager, the boss. And then the other would be if they're in a position and they're just not up to the skill level. Again, that's a training issue. That's an issue. Again, it reflects back on you. And so anytime, and there have been those occasions where I've had to have the conversation, and I will tell you this, that in some of those scenarios, when that has happened, at the end of it, the other person hugged me, right? At the end of being fired.
Wow.
And that is, I believe, the goal. That should be the aim, not through manipulation, not through, false praise, not through any of that stuff. But the reality is that you have a human whose life is now going to be affected by the decision that you as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a manager just made. And so coming from, as you said earlier, which is so true, coming from a position of love, coming from a position of humanity, right? It's another soul sitting across that table from you. I want to maintain friendships, even if someone's no longer a part of our company. And I want to take responsibility when it's my fault for either not training them correctly or for putting them in the wrong role, right? I want them to be aware of that my job is to help them succeed. And if they're not succeeding, it's as much a reflection on me, assuming they're in that 99.9%.
Right. No, I totally get it. So folks that are listening to this, I mean, take note, man. It's not a coincidence that Wayne has 10 full-time employees and a bunch of contractors and has grown to the size that they've grown to and has been successful in this way. Take notes, family first, his style on treating people with compassion, empathy, and love, taking ownership of if it's not working. I mean, these are not easy traits to earn, to get the experience points, right? As you go through the battles in life and to level up to that point. That's tricky. Caroline Welsh writes, great company culture. And I would have to agree with her on that one. As I mentioned prior to the show, Wayne, we develop a little bit of a chronology and we've got 2 minutes left. And so where were you born?
I was born 3 blocks down the street from
Alexandria. Yep, there it is. Yeah, right there in Alexandria. And real quick, give me one elementary school story fast, like first grade. Can you remember anything from first grade?
Yeah, I remember that my parents got me a bunch of baseball cards. I don't know if it's first grade exactly, but early elementary. And my friends came over and I bribed them to go pick up tin cans for baseball cards so I could go sell the tin cans and make money. That's the best story I got.
Okay, so early entrepreneurship, right there. Yeah, it was just in the blood, just in the blood. And I treated my friends with love, and I praised them, and I didn't.
And I fired them, kicked them out.
Oh, that's too good. All right, I'm going to do my quick pitch for the show, and we'll give you the final word. Ladies and gentlemen, marketing as a foreign language. I told you it was going to be a good one, and it certainly was. We would love to have Wayne back on the show. He knows that. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do so. If you're listening to us after the fact, we love you. We're proud of you. YouTube.com/Send It Rising is the main hub. You can also find us on the Send It Rising Internet Marketing Facebook page, my personal LinkedIn. That's Kellen Kautzman, KELLENKAUT as in Tom, Z as in Zebra, MAN. Also on Twitch.tv, Kautzmania, and Twitter, Kellen Kautzman. If you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify, or any of the 10 other podcast platforms that we are currently running on, hey, we love you too. We appreciate it. Help us with the algorithm. Leave a comment, even if it's, hey, thanks. Every little bit helps. We're going to give our incredible guest, Wayne Mullins, the final word.
Kellen, thank you so much for the opportunity to visit. I've genuinely enjoyed this conversation with you. And to everyone listening, I would just say that you can change your life starting today. consistency does create miracles.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.